picture this. It's November 1923, and you're standing in a bakery in Berlin. A single loaf of bread costs 200 billion marks. A woman ahead of you is paying for her groceries with a wheelbarrow overflowing with cash. In the 12 minutes you've been waiting in line, the price of that loaf has jumped to 250 billion marks. The currency just lost another 30% of its value. This wasn't a scene from a dystopian movie. This was real life in Weimar Germany. And this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. The same nightmare is played out time and time again. In Venezuela, a carton of eggs cost millions of dollars. In Zimbabwe, you needed a $100 trillion note just to buy a bus ticket. More recently, in Lebanon, the currency lost 98% of its value in just 4 years. These stories reveal a terrifying truth. Currency collapse isn't a question of if, but when. You might think that can't happen here, but consider this. The average lifespan of a fiat currency money created by government decrees only 27 years. The current global dollar system has been in place since 1971. Are we an exception to the rule, or just waiting for the clock to run out? History shows that these collapses follow a chillingly predictable pattern. It starts with a government overspending, often on wars or massive social programs. To cover the shortfall, they turn to the printing press. They create money out of thin air. At first, it seems like a solution, but as more and more money floods the system, its value plummets. Your purchasing power evaporates. People sense the ship is sinking and start fleeing to alternative assets. Confidence shatters, and the entire system implodes. So, when the money in your bank account becomes worthless paper, what actually survives? What assets hold their value through the storm? After dissecting a century of economic autopsies, 5 clear winners emerge. First, and most famously, are precious metals. Gold and silver have been money for thousands of years for a simple reason. Governments print them. They are the of tangible assets with intrinsic value. During the Weimar hyperinflation, those who held gold and silver preserved their wealth while their neighbors' life savings turned to dust. The same was true in Zimbabwe. When the paper notes became worthless, gold retained its purchasing power. It's the ultimate financial insurance policy. The second survivor is foreign hard currencies. When a local currency is in a death spiral, holding a stable foreign currency like the US dollar or the Swiss franc can be a lifesaver. We saw this in Lebanon, Argentina, and Venezuela. While local savers were wiped out, those who had managed to get their hands on dollars were able to maintain their standard of living. It's a classic strategy. When your own currency is failing, you anchor your wealth to one that isn't. Third, and this might surprise you, are productive equities. We're not talking about just any stocks. We're talking about shares in real companies that produce real things and, crucially, earn revenue in foreign currencies through exports. Think of a German manufacturing company in 1923 that sold its products abroad for dollars or pounds. As the mark collapsed, their foreign earnings became exponentially more valuable when converted back home. These companies aren't just paper assets. They represent real factories, real products, and real international income streams, which often causes their stock prices to soar during a currency collapse. Fourth, we have consumables and barter goods. When the financial system freezes, the economy reverts to its most basic form, trade. Suddenly, things we take for granted become the new currency. Canned food, fuel, medicine, tools, alcohol, and cigarettes. These are items with immediate, practical value. During periods of chaos, being able to trade a can of beans for a needed service or a bottle of whiskey for a ride can be more valuable than any amount of collapsing paper money. These goods become a temporary but vital store of value. And finally, the fifth and perhaps ultimate survival asset, agricultural land. Specifically, land that can produce food when supply chains break down and grocery store shelves are empty. The ability to grow your own food is the most fundamental form of wealth. It provides sustenance for your family and a surplus to trade. However, it's not without its risks. Productive land is highly visible and vulnerable to heavy taxation or even outright seizure by a desperate government. Just as important as knowing what survives is knowing what goes to zero. The losers are just as clear. Government bonds denominated in the collapsing currency become worthless promises. Your savings, trapped in failing banks, will be vaporized. And being a creditor to anyone in a dying economy, especially the state itself, means you will never get paid back in anything of real value. Today, The warning signs are blinking red in countries all over the world. Iraq, Turkey, Lebanon, and others are already deep in currency crisis. Even in developed nations like the United States, we see exploding government debt and unprecedented money printing. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Currency collapse is the historical norm, not the exception. The real question is not if it will happen again, but whether you will recognize the pattern. Will you diversify your wealth across real stores of value that have stood the test of time? Or will you be one of the millions left standing in line one day, staring at a price board in disbelief, wondering how a simple loaf of bread came to cost 200 billion? The choice is yours. Thanks for watching. If you found this information valuable, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Stay safe and stay prepared.